Coming up on episode 74. For y'all, then, Valentine's Day is your anniversary.
Yeah, so every February 14th is our anniversary. Before that, even now, we don't do anything.
I was going to say, but having said that, and going back to what you said about the flowers, I've gotten her flowers before, and she's like, they're nice, but they're just gonna die.
Yeah. What do you like for that kind of thing?
Well, I think that's the same kind of things that Juan likes. We like experiences, and so I tell Juan, give me something that you're willing to receive. I mean, if you're okay with flowers, then give me flowers. If you're okay with, a beautiful note, then give me that. Like
Have you ever bought him flowers?
No.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show, where we're bringing you small talk about big topics. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Juan, Alanis, and Anjelica Cazares. And this week we're talking about Valentine's Day. What do we consider to be romantic? Do you celebrate? Do you not celebrate? Do you think that it's an overblown holiday? And what expectations do you have during this quote-unquote holiday? Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes and Stitcher channels are available at thelittlерadioshow.com. The Little Radio Show is brought to you in partnership with juanofwords.com and HispanicHouston.com. I honestly believe that Valentine's Day has to be one of the most hated holidays out there. Over Christmas, over New Year, over anything else.
People hate Christmas?
There are people who hate Christmas.
Oh.
I don't personally know of any of them, but I have seen people post on Facebook that, they don't enjoy Christmas or they do hate Christmas or, whatever. And I don't know how much of that is true. Mm-hmm. But what I do know is that Valentine's Day comes with all of these
expectations,
nuances,
and there's all of this pressure about Valentine's Day, and it starts when you're really, really young, and it goes on. So, you have all of these romantic comedies, and you have all of the media telling you that for Valentine's Day should be perfect, that you should have somebody who loves you, that that they need to do something grandiose and big, that it's got to be everything, all the details have to be perfect. When in reality...
it's the flowers, the chocolate, the diamonds, all that
everything.
Stuff. Yeah.
So what were you gonna say, Sandra? Like, do you believe that?
Do I believe? No, honestly, we have had this conversation for as much as I am a creature who really, really enjoys all of her comforts, and I am spoiled. I understand that I'm spoiled. I've accepted that about myself. We have moved forward. In my family, we tend to be a little bit more practical about things. And so Valentine's Day, while we do celebrate it, and speaking as the single person in my family, while the couples in my family do celebrate it, it's not that, oh my God, you must do X, Y, and Z stuff that I see out there even amongst my friends and extended family. So, I have a sister who... she thinks flowers are a waste of money, that kind of thing. There's a couple in my family where
sounds familiar.
Where their thing is, they do go out for Valentine's Day, but that's not their big celebration. They wait for their anniversary for the big celebration because that's unique to them.
Can I say something, Sandra?
Sure.
And call me out on it if you think I'm completely I'm left field here, but. I get the feeling that you enjoy your alone time and you're totally fine with...
Oh, I love my alone time, but I'm an introvert. We have had this conversation. Now,
I mean,
I need my alone time.
As opposed to a romantic partner, I've never seen you like that is a sort of a goal. That's kind of...
Oh, my goodness. Mom, if you're listening, I did try. Honest to God, I tried to find a partner. I swear.
Oh, wow.
I did not on purpose become an old maid. No offense. I am very comfortable by myself. So I have gone through periods where I had a significant other. I've right now through a period where I don't. I don't think that, other than it would be convenient to have a significant other for certain things.
Oh,
and I will let you put that
I love the way
there.
you put that. I love the way you word that. It's inconvenient.
It would be. There are certain things that I'm sure I would find more pleasant with a partner.
Yeah.
However, I have a very good. I'm blessed with a very solid group of friends and support system to where if I need someone to go out with me to do something, there's always somebody available. I'm alone because I choose to be alone, not because that there's not anybody out there who would do that. Now, when I say I'm alone because I choose to be alone, that's also a relationship choice. And there's this fallacy out there that if you're a fat girl, you can't find anyone. Let me explain to the people out there that I've never had any trouble finding a significant other. Thank you very much. And there are the people who will look at me and move on, and that's fine. I don't want that one anyway.
But you know what? I think the fact that you say that, it's you're alone because you choose to be alone, says a lot about you, you and your confidence level. Because I think a lot of times you see a lot of people who are in relationships just because they don't want to be alone.
Yes.
And so I think the fact that you're like, oh, I'm okay with being alone. I don't have a problem with being alone. I think that's pretty great.
I have to agree. Growing up, I've seen I'm sorry, Juan. I'm speaking of partnerships. Juan has toothpaste on his beard, and that's what I'm pulling away here. So we were quickly distracted. But in relationships,
job description, right?
She's grooming me.
I'm grooming my husband. Yes. So I felt the pressure of partner when I was in middle school. I didn't feel that so much. I remember, and I completely
middle school.
I did. So growing up, when Valentine's hit around, I remember you had to get they were limited, they would do this whole limited, oh, you're my friend and I only have 16 cards and there's 24 of us, so you get one of my Valentine's Day cards. There was a friendship, right? There was a friendship that was developing, and that was very prominent in elementary school. But going into middle school, now it was, I mean, you were having classrooms so you're having classrooms with all kinds of people. So the friendship ones mattered a lot because you're getting, we upped the ante from, from paper cards to carnations, right? They would spend $1 on you and you would get a carnation from your friend. But
and there was always that one student that walked around with all the balloons and stuff. And you're like, go home.
So there was, hold on, why are you being hater?
He's a hater.
Okay,
hater,
so there was a moment where you kind of, it wasn't expected, but it was that nervousness. You would show up on the 14th and you would think to yourself, is somebody going to give me anything? Does anybody like me? What's happening? And that you felt that pressure from the other students, or they would bring those not connotations from home, if you like somebody, you have to tell them. And to do that during Valentine's Days, when they were profess their not love but their entrance in you, and you would get those, and then that school wouldn't help because they would do secret carnations, right? They would walk into some of the classrooms and they had carnations, and they would place the carnations on some of those students who got the carnation, and it was kind of this is from your secret admirer. And so you felt the pressure. Poor kids.
I'm laughing because I remember in some of the being in middle school that there was sometimes people would get flowers and you'd be like, do you think they bought that for themselves?
But you see, in my middle school was in Mexico, and we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is not really celebrated, well, at least in the part of Mexico where I lived, the way it is in the U.S., and we didn't exchange cards. I remember in elementary school, because I was in the U.S. in elementary school, and my mom made me give a card out to every kid in my class. But by middle school, I was in Mexico. In high school, I was in Mexico. That wasn't a practice down there. So really, I didn't have that kind of experience where the anxiety attached to it.
So I did experience anxiety going into high school. Now into high school was a different story. You wanted to stay far, far away from these balloons or roses that were coming in your direction. You wanted to hide because there was a series of who sent you that and what are you doing? You don't want to be the prize of anything, and especially in abundance. I remember getting one year, and I was like, who the hell? Why would you send me this? You know damn well I am like, don't start conversations out of people. They're going to start these rumors like, oh, I bet you what's the name said, you know, he likes blah, 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 blah. It's like, you were trying to stay far away.
I would not have done well in high school here. Let me explain that.
And it was only those couples who looked like they were married. And you remember those, Juan, don't you? Who looked like they were married in high school. And they were like, they would show up to school together, have lunch together, leave together. And you're like, so this is your job? Like, do you guys go, like, what's going on? And he was the one that would bring, right? So he would show up with her in the same vehicle, and he would bring like these flowers and balloons, and they would leave together in the same vehicle. And I was like,
but you know, a lot to do with Valentine's Day. And I feel on Valentine's Day, I really, really feel that there's a lot of pressure on men.
You think so?
There's a lot of competition between women, but I think that there's a lot of pressure on men because it's not just fulfilling the expectations of the girlfriend or the wife, but in many cases it's fulfilling the expectations that they have of themselves when they're competing against other people and not even being honest about it to themselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of it has to do with, I want to be able to brag to my friends about what my boyfriend gave me. I want to be able to show that my boyfriend loves me more than your boyfriend loves you.
But I think in courtship in general, there's a lot of pressure on men. Like, I think in courtship in general, there's a lot of pressure.
I am a feminist telling you that's I absolutely agree with that.
And I don't necessarily mean that it's only from the woman, but I think it's from the guy himself, because you want to like.
But who do you feel the pressure from girls?
No, you feel the pressure from yourself, and you feel the pressure. A lot of times it's from yourself.
So it's self-inflicted.
Yeah, because you want to be able to take her somewhere nice. You want to be able to do nice things. You want to be, you want to have a nice car. You want to have nice clothing. You want to have you want to be able to, kind of.
You want to be the man.
Yeah, like you have this ideal in your head of how you should be or what you should be in order to attract the opposite sex. And so I think that there's a lot of pressure just in general that you inflict on yourself, because you're like, oh, I gotta be macho, I gotta be tough.
Is it because you've seen other guys do it and you figured that's the way of life?
I think that's just a society, because I think the way we grow up, that's the way, people are always telling you stuff like, oh, you're gonna have to.
You think it's more of a Latino thing too?
I think it's just guys in general. Like, speaking of that, and this is kind of related, like I was having a conversation with Boy the other day, and because he's now at the age where he's 14, and Valentine's Day is starting to mean more to him than it did before. And I
am totally unaware of this stuff. I am unaware of a lot of this stuff, because Juan will tell me things.
He doesn't talk to you anymore.
No, he doesn't.
I was having a conversation with him, and I was telling him something that my dad had once told me, and I was like, take your time. You don't have to have a girlfriend immediately.
When
you don't have to
these conversations
you
taking
don't have
place?
to rush into anything. Like, you just enjoy yourself and take it easy and whatever. And I think that's kind of I kind of feel like that was my dad kind of telling me don't put so much pressure on yourself. Mm-hmm. And now I'm telling him the same thing, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Yeah. Because there is a lot of pressure to be the impress and and if you're if you have the mentality that you're going to be the provider,
I have to say
that you're going to be the
I have to say I partially agree with you, because it was very important as a high school girl to be able to skip. I needed to be able to skip with somebody who had a vehicle. So,
but look at the way.
So if me and my friends had to skip, and it was the guy with the vehicle, as opposed to the guy who was like, "Yeah, I live a couple of blocks." It's like, we don't want to go to your house. Like, we're trying to go to Galveston. We want to go to the mall.
But look at the things when you see when you talk about to a lot of people, and I don't want to generalize, but when you talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, well, yeah, her boyfriend doesn't have a car, or her boyfriend doesn't work, or her boyfriend has old clothing. It also makes the girlfriend feel bad, because they're like, oh, well, he's not progressing. He's not in the situation where he
How much
should
can he
be.
progress at such a young age?
But no, I mean in general, not only as a teenager but as an adult too.
Oh,
I think women look at their each other's partners to see whether or not how they're
So let me interject here and say some women.
Some women. Yeah.
Now that's the cliche. It's the myth, and the problem is that it's, for some women, that is real. That is part of what they do, is in fact. But I've had people tell me, oh, well, girls are raised that they're not supposed to be competitive, except against other girls in about feminine things. How pretty you are, what do you have the best boyfriend, etc., etc. I wasn't raised that way. My mom and my old-fashioned macho dad did not raise me to be competitive that way. My dad always was like, oh, you say you want to be a stewardess? No. Say that you want to be the pilot. Don't tell me you're going to be the secretary. Tell me you're going to be the businesswoman. Don't tell me you're going to be the nurse. Tell me you're going to be the doctor. And so they did not, my family, on the other hand, 24, and I'm telling them about, I've got this great job, and I do this, and I do that, and what's the first? Oh, ¿tienes novio?
That's awesome, but are you going to get married?
Yeah.
You're going to find a partner who will be with you or without you, with
maturity,
and
with maturity and with experience comes that, you start to learn that it's not about what you can provide. It's not about the car you have. It's not about but you have to go through those phases, right? I mean, because when you're a teenager, and if you're a teenage boy, you're going to go through the phase where you're going to want the fast car. You're going to want the nice clothing. You're going to want the nice shoes.
I was always attracted to, I have to say this, I was always attracted to intellectual minds. So those
ended up with Juan.
Yeah, I ended up with a good one.
Sorry, Juan.
But I was always intrigued. I was always intrigued by intellectual minds, and a lot of the times it had nothing to do whether they had vehicles or they didn't, or whether they were working. And I'm going back to my dating ages. And it all had to do with with the kind of conversations we had, because if you were driving around in a car and all I seen was if you were working, 16 hours a day at your job, and you would come see me in the middle, at night for 2 hours because you got to go back to sleep. That was pointless to me. I was like, that's awesome for you, but I want to have a conversation. I'm not just looking for, I'm not looking to have I don't want my BMW. I want a conversation.
I know couples where he is a stay-at-home dad because they had a second child and realized that it was going to cost them more to keep both children in daycare than for one of them to quit and stay at home with them. So she made more money. It made more sense for her to keep working and for him to take time off and stay with the kids. Now, here's the thing. They get a lot of flack, the guys do, from family members, from friends, from everybody, that somehow it seemed to be that they have failed somehow because they are stay-at-home dads, and that's what works for this couple. I think that every couple needs to figure out what works for that couple. Right. And while I know successful couples where both of them work, and successful couples where she's a stay-at-home mom, successful couples where he's a stay-at-home dad, and not like a daddy blogger, but literally that is what he does. He does the PTA and the carpool and everything like that.
And
there's a variety.
And it's not even only from the family and other guys.
It's from everybody.
It's from employers too, because I know somebody who's in an executive role, though she is. And her husband has been staying home for years now. And now he's trying to go back into the workforce. And people are like, well, you haven't been working for the last 2 years.
What have you done for all these years?
You don't.
Yeah, you're right. And it is more accepted. It is more accepted for the women to have explained to people, well, I had children and I had to take care of them. And I'm coming back to the workforce, even if it is on, a lower level type of position. But as a man, you're like, what did you do for all these time?
Yeah, it's like you've been gone for these years and now you're not qualified anymore. And it's like,
yeah,
why?
okay, I can agree with that.
We'll come back to that during Mother's Day and Dad's Day. Let's pull this back to Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day, there's the chocolates and the jewelry and the flowers and the night out and the entertainment or whatever. Okay, you're a married couple. What do you normally do for Valentine's Day?
I will tell you this, Sandra. We got married February 14th.
Really?
We did, because
my parents got married the 13th.
Oh, did they?
Yes. They eloped, by the way.
We did this for a very prime reason.
Because so he would never forget
we can never forget the day because we have horrible memories. And the only time it dawns on us is when people start talking about Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day, the year that we got married, fell on a Sunday, and we were adamant that we needed the 14th,
so you
not
got married
the 15th.
On a Sunday.
So we got married on a Sunday,
February
14th, and it was just me, Juan, and the retired judge.
Yeah,
so you
and
went
that
to
was
a JP?
it. Yeah.
We drove
cool.
out to the middle of nowhere in a little country, and then a city.
Your
and then,
parents weren't there?
No.
Nobody. It was
like a
nobody,
little-
really?
No,
It was like a
yeah.
little country town, and we drove into this retired judge's house, and he took us to his den office, and then he was like, okay, he did the whole procedure, and he's like, you're married. So we left there, and then we're like, okay, well, I guess now we should go like have dinner or something and celebrate somewhere nice.
No,
So
but
we-
so we did. So we went
texted
to a
all our
hotel.
family, and we're like, we're married now.
We went
Were
to
they upset?
yeah, they were. So we went to a
I would've
hotel.
been.
We were having dinner at one of the hotel restaurants, and we were sitting there, and I was like, it's probably a good idea to start telling my family. So we started texting our sisters and brothers. Juan called his mom, and everybody found out. And a few people were upset. They're like, you could have told us. We could have made a party for you. We could have done something for you, like something. And we're like, well, no, that wasn't the point. The
But
point
mind
was,
you, this was like years after we had been living together.
Yeah.
So it was like, we're kind of already married legally.
But, but
Yeah.
that sounds like my brother and my sister-in-law, they didn't want a church wedding. He's not very religious, and neither is she. They were going to go to the JP, and his thing to me was, do you think mom's going to want to go? I'm like, do I think our mother is going to want to go and watch her only son,
Get
her
married?
youngest child, get married? No, of course not. Of course she's not going
Well,
to want to
at least
see
he
you
had
get married.
At least he asked you, you know?
She would have brought that up every family event from now until the end of time. It would have been.
Well, it's a good
she
thing
would
he asked.
She would have been telling his kids, I would have loved to have seen your parents get married, but they didn't invite me.
Oh, and my mom would definitely tell me that. She was like, oh, well, it would have been nice to like been at your wedding, but since you didn't invite me.
But they did have a reception, so everyone was
Yeah.
invited to the reception. A few of us invited ourselves to the wedding.
See, that sounds like my family. If
But-
we would have found out, we would have all just shown up.
Yeah, but for y'all, then Valentine's Day is your anniversary.
Yeah, so every February 14th is our anniversary. Before that, even now, we don't do anything.
I was gonna say, but having said that, and going back to what you said about the flowers, I've gotten her flowers before, and she's like, they're nice, but they're just gonna die.
Yeah. What do
it's-
you like for that kind of thing?
Well, I think that's the same kind of things that Juan likes. We like experiences, and so I tell Juan, give me something that you're willing to receive. I mean, if you're okay with flowers, then give me flowers. If you're okay with, a beautiful note, then give me that. Like I
Have
prefer
you ever bought him flowers?
flower. No, but he won't go to a florist. He'll buy the flowers. Like he'll like support small businesses. Like if he sees you on the side of the road and it's like Valentine's Day, he's like. And and especially if it's like a young like a child selling it, like to help out parents, so they can he's like, yeah, my wife needs flowers, I need to go buy them from them. And
But
that's
you
the
know
kind
what
of
we
person,
have-
and that's what like excites me. So when he tells me the story too, he's like, yeah, I bought you flowers, and it was this kid, and blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That excites me.
But you know what it is like we have done like a little. Well, I guess our version of celebrating is like going somewhere. Like
Yeah.
if we go maybe we'll go to Galveston, or maybe we'll stay somewhere, or maybe it's just like that's like more like celebrating than more like going to a fancy dinner or anything like that. Like and especially
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day, we try to avoid it because everything is so crowded.
So I think when we're so much more in a state of we need to reconnect or do something,
Yeah.
that's when we start doing other things to like reconnect. But it's
So
we find the need to do it. But February 14th never really
yeah.
is it yeah.
And I hear this from a lot of people. We didn't do anything romantic. And I'm like, well, what is romantic?
I know that's the thing.
To go to a nice restaurant or to go out and do something with atmosphere or whatever. And I'm like, I always thought that romantic moments just sort of happened naturally. Or at least that was the experience that I had back in the days when I was a couple and not just me.
So what would you consider romantic? Because you've mentioned now, I'm just gonna put this out there. You mentioned earlier in this recording that you have been in not platonic relationship. So I'm curious, what do you consider romantic?
But again, I have a very practical soul. To me, dinner is dinner. And, the getting up and dressing up and whatever. I get dressed up for family events, for work events, for whatever. Going out to dinner with a guy is, pleasant. I don't think just the dinner is romantic. I think romantic comes from how you feel about the person. A picnic can be romantic. You could be sitting in the Burger King parking lot, both of y'all eating from the paper bag that you just got. And this is literally a true story. Like neither one of us would pick a restaurant. We drove through the Burger King drive-thru, parked in the parking lot in the less than not so crowded area and sat there for an hour and a half and ate the food and just talked. I thought that was romantic because the atmosphere, it was just us in this little bubble and nobody bothering us. And like, while we could see and hear the outside world, it didn't touch us. So that to me, it wasn't planned. It's, who was going to think Burger King in the truck that's not romantic, but it was. Yeah. In that context, in that moment, with that guy, that was a romantic evening.
I have to say, though, we do tend to get our most romantic moments happen when we travel. Because it is that, like you mentioned, that bubble where we're just talking and reconnecting, and it's just, and the moments become intimate, and we're saying things that only we would understand, and we tend to get more on a very, very personal basis when it's just me and him, and that so happens to be because we're surrounded by so much family and on a constant basis.
So busy.
Yeah, so when it's just me and him, and we're traveling, or we're like long gone from the day, and it's just work from 8 in the morning to 8 at night.
Even if it's just a drive, like we just like, let's go for a drive, and we'll just get
we do that so often.
Drive, like, we're just driving and around like to Galveston, or we drive to like Livingston.
It's not even the destination. It's the fact that we're doing it. So a lot of the times we do tend to get a lot more romantic, and we'll be like, hey, so we're gonna reach this town or city or whatever. What do you want to eat? And we start to like that, and it's like, what do you want to do? He's like, we'll get, as opposed to like we're at home, we're like, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't care. But then and there, it's like, what do you want to eat? Oh, do you want to eat Mexican food, Mediterranean, Indian?
The thing with Valentine's Day, I think that the disconnect for me is my favorite memories of Valentine's Day or my birthday or when I celebrated with a guy was when we did something, or we went out and did something where it showed he actually knew who I was. Like he understood my personality, that he knew who I was.
Was it giving you something or telling you something?
Yes.
Or showing up somewhere?
All of the above. So like I have a sister who, when we were at work, she just does not like to be the center of attention. So I understand that a normal person would really enjoy getting flowers at work. She hated it. And so when her current boyfriend insisted on sending her flowers over and over to work, even though she kept telling him that she didn't enjoy it, that just showed to me that he didn't really know who she was. It wasn't her protesting, oh, it's okay, you don't know. She's like, I don't like people looking at me to go pick up the flowers, and I don't like people dropping by all day asking who sent me flowers. Yeah. Don't do it.
I can relate to that.
You don't like to be the center of attention. Is that how you can relate?
Attention either. Yeah, okay. I can totally relate to that.
I'm not a Valentine's Day hater, and especially because to me Valentine's Day is el día del amor y la amistad, and that's how I grew up knowing it, which is the day of love and friendship. It is a great sentiment, no pun intended, to have a day where you celebrate these romantic and maybe not romantic relationships that are not your mom, your kids, your immediate family. I've got a lot of really deep friendships, and this is a great opportunity to have an un-Valentine's Day celebration. I'm not telling people that they shouldn't go out and celebrate Valentine's Day. That's great. I'm just saying that we put a lot of pressure on it. We put a lot of pressure on it, and for some people, when it doesn't measure up, it's ruined. And I just think that if 90% of it was perfect, why dwell on the 10% that wasn't?
I think it's a good reminder, though. So February 14th comes around. It's a good reminder, as you said, to reconnect or redo those things that you do with your friends or your significant other. It's just, I don't think it's pressure. For me, it's more of a reminder, like, hey, have you done this lately?
There is pressure for a lot of people. And I personally know some people who honestly believe that if they don't have anyone to celebrate with on the 14th of February, they are somehow failing in their lives.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've seen that before. But I think
and men and women.
But I think it's a great holiday. I mean, I like the holiday. I just don't we just don't celebrate it the way
But you're an old married couple.
The traditional way. But I do think it's a great holiday. But the funny thing is, what I look forward to about Valentine's Day is the after Valentine's Day sales, because they always have everything on sale, the chocolate
But
and
y'all
everything.
are not
Like,
normal. You people are like me.
Yeah.
You're just not normal.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to bring normal people in here and ask them for their opinions. And maybe that would constitute what the average person thinks. That's not us. But for the rest of you out there, let me just tell you that if you do celebrate Valentine's Day in whatever manner that you do, we wish you a happy Valentine's Day, and share with us what you consider to be the perfect Valentine's Day celebration, either as a single person, as a part of a couple, or whatever your domestic situation may be, and let us know, and we'll, maybe we'll share it on the air. And that's this week's show. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes and our Stitcher channels and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to both channels at thelittleradioshow.com.